Welcome back. So as you can see, this fun little 206K25, as they say, is all painted up, and I am going to get started getting her put back together, and I'm going to try to just kind of reverse the order of how I took her apart. And so one of the last things I did was take the pleated belt off of the back here, so I think that is where I'm going to start. Actually, first I'm going to go ahead and throw oil, got a little piece of paint right here, throw oil all over her just to make sure what's still in there is all lubricated and ready to go, and then we'll get the belt. Okay, so this is my belt. So if I reverse the process, sliding it through the keyhole in the bottom to get it started, and then opening it up and trying these new lights here. If you can see, there's a cog up here, and I need to get it up and over that cog, and this is going to take me a minute to get it pushed up there. Alright, so at this point I've got the belt in, and there are a couple screws that I need to get back in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get them started. Here's one. I really hope this cog is in the right place, otherwise I will have to, fix that later. And if I turn this over, there's the other one. Okay. So if I can drop the belt down, making sure that the links are in the right little position on that cog. I think that is good. Now, back here, this big bushing gets pounded in, and these two holes is where the belt guard mounts onto, so I need to make sure that those two are exactly upright. Also, this oil hole needs to line up with this hole. So if I push this straight in this way, like so, you know what I'm going to do though? Just grab my little belt guard, make sure it looks good in this position, and I think it does because that's where my bobbin winder will be. Okay, I need to go ahead and get this tapped in. So let's put a piece of wood here and tap that piece of wood, Okay. Oh, don't get dirty. So the big question is, Did I line up that hole correctly? And yes, it goes all the way down. So that is fandabulous. All right. I'm going to call that good for right now. Now this bushing is going to go on here. You know what? I might need to realign this cam. Well, tell you what, let's see. This hole here on this bushing needs to line up with this hole here. If I lay that right next to it, actually, I think that will work. Okay, let me just push that on. Again, this is very hard. I need to tap it, but I have those two holes lined up right now. So, gotta get my hammer again. Here it is. Ouch, that hurt my finger. Almost. I have like a fraction that I need to go still. Hang on. Okay, that looks like it's lined up pretty well there to me. This hole goes all the way through. Now, everything's spinning really well. Actually, from this side you can see that it needs to go just a hair more, and it does feel a bit loose. So let me go ahead and I'm going to put this piece of wood in there. I think that might be easier than putting my fingers in there. Okay, that looks a little bit better there. Now you want to make sure that you have a very, very small gap right here, okay, between the bushing and over here. And I feel like I do. So this screw with the larger side going in here is going to get tightened up. I need to grab my other screwdrivers. Put them on the other side of the table here. So, yeah. All right, let me get this tightened up. Feels good. Let me make sure that the wheel is going to slide on there well. I feel like I need to get that screw in a little bit more. I want to show you, for some reason, this was a bit stiff, and I need it to be able to spin freely when I'm winding a bobbin. So what I've done is inside of the wheel, little hole, I put a little bit of pretty stout grit lapping compound stuff. And holding up at the front, you know, up here, holding the cog so it doesn't want to spin. And then coming down here and spinning. And I can already tell that it's smoothing out a whole lot. After a couple minutes, I'll go in there and I'll clean all of that out. And then we should be good to go. And actually, once I clean it out, I'm going to go ahead and put the little washer and nut and everything back on to the ends down here, just to hold that wheel on for now while I'm working on it. I'll have to take it off again, you know, eventually, but sometimes it's nice to have the wheel on while you're working, just to make things easy to turn. It's already spinning so much better. It's actually getting fairly late tonight. So I think, and I did paint this, I just felt like it, you know, it's a creative decision for me. But I feel like I want to try to tackle up here in the nose, and then tomorrow I'll work on, you know, all of the zigzag components and everything on the bottom. Oh, lots of pieces here. Let me get myself organized. Okay, so in here in the nose, I'm going to try to start with the background things first, which means this is the tension release for the tension unit, you know, as you do. So I'm going to go ahead and get it screwed in down here. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I just dropped that. I'm trying to do this without putting gloves on, but it makes my hands so messy. And then if I'm sewing or something inside, you know, greasiness. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what I mean. Let me get my act together here. Okay, once it's tightened in all the way, make sure it still moves freely. And it does. And since I put that in, I might as well come around this side and get the tension unit assembled. All right, I'm just going to, I've got the little spring here. Just screwing this in. Nice and tight. Spring. Ooh, that's almost too much spring. Let me loosen it down here just a hair. I think I can adjust this later. If you need to adjust your spring, you could just untwist this part a little bit and then tighten it up. Okay, so I'm going to set this in the little hole here. Ooh, do I need to clean some paint out? I just might. Just remembered from taking this apart that I had to put this in from the inside, that I could not do it from the outside. Even though I did go with an X-Acto knife and clean out some paint in there anyway. Yeah. Oh. And I can't put this in because that's in the way now. Oh my goodness. You know what? That is a sign to quit for the night. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out so I don't forget. And first thing in the morning, I will put it back together again. So, good night. Hey everybody, welcome to the next day. And I wanted to show you, I've got this tapped in. Actually, it did go in from the outside in. I just had to tap it a bit. It's in there. The tension release is back in, you know, and I need to turn this light on so you can see. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the tension mechanism put together and get that put on. Okay, so I've got the spring, and I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Threading in my little stud here. Now this spring does not have one of those little teeth on it, so right now that it's started, I want this to be able to have tension pulling downwards, so I'm going to try to keep it up a bit. Okay, so now that spring will have downward spring. If I need to loosen it later, I can always, oh my goodness, untwist this just a hair, reposition the spring, and then tighten it up to whatever I need it to be, okay? So let me go ahead and get my 2 clean tension discs and get those popped on. Get this out of the way here. I need to put the tension release pin in before I forget. Get that pushed in there. Okay. Oops, did that wrong. Hang on a sec. God, I need to get my little set screw put in here. Not that I think that that's going to turn it all. I honestly don't, but I don't want to forget. That little cup is very, very tight in there right now. Okay. Okay, so now that that is done, I've got all my little pieces kind of laid out here. So first on, I'm going to be putting this little piece, and the little slot with the little indicator is going to go up on top. And then this little piece that has the little finger sticking out, that finger is going towards this one because it needs to engage with these little holes there. just to hold it together. Okay. I think that's more straight up and down. Then a basket. And I know this is not exactly horizontal, it just is the way it is. Now this piece, and remember, has this little finger sticking up. That little finger that sticks up goes into that slot. Come on. Don't know why everything is difficult today. I think it's the rain. Come on. All right, there you go. So that little finger's inside that slot. And now I can just twist this in. Okay. So twisting it in more is more tension between the discs, less is less. Now, if I lift, ooh, I don't have my lifter lever in. Well, let's pretend I do. If I push this out, hang on. It's not pushing that tension release pin out far enough. I think I need to push this whole canister in just a little bit to get it to engage. All right, I took this after I pushed it in. It was still not great, so I'm putting this little ring washer with a little finger sticking out of it against the tension discs and let it engage these dots from the outside. I know that's not how I took it apart, but doing it that way, when I push the tension release, it does push it out now. So I'll get it all back together and see if that's good. So now if I push against this, you can see it is releasing tension. Tension and no tension. So it's good. I'm going to go ahead and put this lifter lever on. Okay. Started. And you want to be able to cinch this in all the way and not have it bound up, because there's a little shoulder on this screw. So make sure it's riding on that shoulder. Okay, so if I lift this all the way, ta-da, looseness, and then back down. All right, so that is good. That's cinched up. Okay. You know what's furthest back here is the needle bar. Okay, so looking here in the front nose, I'm gonna move you back. That might be better, huh? All right, lots of pieces are gonna go in here. We've got this piece, and if you see that hole up there, this is gonna be over it. Thread take-up lever over here. And this side is going to be over that hole. But I need to get this piece, and see how it has a flat side there, and push it in. Okay, and this is what's going to go in there. Now, on this side of the cog right there, there's a place for a set screw, which is this. Okay, and you have to access it through this hole here. And that set screw coming in this way, okay, in here, remember this is in that hole, it's going to go up against the flat spot on this little shaft, okay? So if I'm looking, just, you know, a cheater here, if I have this flat spot this way, this is sticking out kind of the opposite way-ish, not 100%, but pretty close to it. So that's going to be my little tell where that needs to be placed. So let me go ahead and turn it down just to get this on the right spot here. Push it in just for right now. Get that thread take-up lever up where it needs to be. And I have this big shouldered screw here. It's going to go through that and up in this corner here. Okay, so let me get this screwed on first. extreme close-up of the back of my hand. I know. Maybe if I put you up a bit, huh? Okay, make sure it's still turning. Yes, it is. All right, so coming around so that this, if I put my screwdriver through this hole here, I'm going to go into that area. Now, I need this to be pointed this way so that the flat spot is over there. And get my screw starter on this little set screw here. I'm going to kind of hold the cog still with my hand and try to get it started with my left hand, which is tricky. I realized why I was having such a hard time getting that screw started, because if you look at the angle of it, it's not going the direction you would think. You have to aim that screw in so it's going to the center of where this is, which means it's kind of at a funky angle there. Don't even know if you can see it. It's right there. So anyway, we got that. So before I push it in any further, I'm turning this so it should be going the right direction. And if you watch it, usually as it gets close, it'll cinch itself in. There, see that? It's cinching itself in right there. Okay. Let me just give it one more little tightening here. Okay. All right, once again, turning it, making sure everything is still turning well, and it is. All right, so now onto this piece here, we've got all this fun stuff. Do I put this on now, or do I wait until after the presser bar is in? That is the question. I think I'm going to go ahead and put it on now, and then if I need to, I can take it off again. You know. Oops, this is reverse threaded. There we go. And tighten it up. Okay, so once again, yeah, everything's great. Okay, let me go ahead and get the presser bar stuff. Okay, so the presser bar should be pretty typical. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in, make sure that it can move up and down. It's feeling a little tight. I'm gonna make sure I don't have any paint blocking the way in here. Okay, so that is in, and I have just popped the spring on, the little washer on top, and started the finial up here. And so, if the foot was on, and this is in no way the exact location, final location of this, but I'm just wanting to go ahead and get this little set screw started, and I can adjust it later when I have the plates on down below. So let me go ahead and get that in just for now, you know, this is temporary. And I'm going to actually go ahead and put the foot on, even though I am going to take it off later just because I don't want to misplace it, you know. Okay, now on this machine, because it is a zigzag, it has this cool bar system here, and this kind of goes out and in, which is how the needle bar moves to get the zigzag effect, okay? So let me get that piece. You know what I really should do first is put the needle bar in. I think that would be a great idea. So this is it. All of its little pieces here. If I pull this out, I'm going to slide it up, okay, just to kind of hold it in place here. I will have to double check. I believe that the bottom of it is this way. It might be that way, but I believe it's this way. I can change that soon. There's a little set screw that's going to go in here on the side. I need to find this really quick and just get that started. I'll be adjusting the height of this soon, but just so that I don't lose where this set screw is. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there for right now. And down, these little pieces are for down here in the needle clamp area. Okay, so getting this one now. Okay, this is that bar that is going to be sliding back and forth. Oh my goodness. I need to go back and look up how to do this. So the needle bar is actually going to be going through here. So I did not need to do this screw yet. You know, okay. Hold on a sec. Okay, so first of all, I want to make sure that this is going to have plenty of room in here to move back and forth easily, and it feels a little tight, so I'm going to sand it down in there. I masked it off when I painted it, so there isn't any paint in here, but, you know, maybe a bit of oil would help. Definitely can't hurt. All right, let's try this. I think I just need to move it back and forth for a little while just to kind of get it broken in, maybe. Sounds like a good idea anyway. So give me a sec. Okay, so that feels a lot better now. Now this part here is going to come out, and this right here that I've actually pulled that screw out quite a bit so that hopefully it's not pushed too wide. That's going to slide up and down inside of this little slot right there. Okay. And that's pretty cool. All right, so up here at the top, before I throw that needle bar in, I got this little finial looking piece, okay? I need to pull this screw out because the top of this is going to be anchored onto here. So let me back this screw out and put it aside for a moment. A little oil here. And I'm going to get it screwed in from the top. Here, and I want to end up so that that screw is going to be in the right orientation here. Okay. Just edit that out. Okay. And I need to keep screwing it down until it's going to line up. And I think that this was flush up here at the top when I took it apart. Maybe one more turn right there. Let's see how that's going to go. If, you know what? Okay, I'm going to need to turn it slightly this way at an angle just so I can get this screw in here and started, and then I'll straighten it out. Hopefully. Goes. Okay, so there it's in there. Get this screw in. Don't even know if you can see. I can barely see. It's raining outside quite a bit. Okay. Okay, so if that is over there, and I can move that so it's straightforward now, put this in the slidey hole, and put the needle bar in. Get it started down here first. I need another hand, I think. See what I'm doing from the side here. That might be better. Let's back this out. It's awful tight. I think it's tight down here. Hang on. Okay, give me a sec. Okay, so I've got that in there. I've got this straightened, this cinched in right now. If you can see, that screw right here is sticking out quite a bit. It still needs to be dealt with. I can actually go ahead and cinch it in. This screw is just to take the strain off of those two little pieces that want to spread apart, you know, so. All right, now I'm not sure that that is the right needle bar height. However, if you look very carefully right here, you can see the two lines which are usually meant for time or marking that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it all the way down to the lowest stroke, and it looks like I see the top of this block is about halfway between those two lines. So I am going to go ahead and loosen this. I'm not sure if this is the right position, but for right now, lower it to that top line, okay? And then usually, when you raise it to the bottom line, that's where you do your timing down here once the hook is in place, usually. So I think that that's a pretty fair place to start it out, at least for right now. I've got other pieces that are going to go in here. I'm going to put this little mark here. And I couldn't remember what this piece was when I took it apart. It's this little L-shaped piece, and I think that this actually has to do with setting the timing. Now that I know that those marks are there, I'm really pretty sure that that's what it is. So let me find the tiny little screw that holds that on. I believe it is this little baby here, and get that put on. Because you can see it does slide up and down, and it is, oh my goodness, pointing at those marks. So I'm pretty sure this little piece here, I don't know why my camera is not wanting to focus where I want it to focus. I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. I will read it in the instructions later. I just remembered, you know, looking at my past here, that this actually was in the front. So I loosened up that set screw right here so I can turn my needle bar around. Again, it's not the final position. I will set that once I have the hook in. But let me just put that in enough that I'm not going to lose anything here. All right, so if I put this little piece on, it's the needle clamp. On the outside here, I have a thread guide, and I have this screw that looks like that, and it's going to screw into this side of the needle clamp holding the thread guide on, and there's a little set screw that's going to go on this side over here. Okay, so back here there is a hole, and that is what this is going to go through. So let me work that in there and make sure that the oil goes all over and it moves easily. Okay, so it is in there. Now there's this part, which is the back of this thing that we already put in, okay? And I have this piece, which is flattened out on the sides. And that flat part's going to sit inside this fork. If my fingers will agree with me. Oh, come on. I just want it to slide in there. There it goes. Okay, so now it's slid in there, and I've got a screw that looks like this. It's going to go through there and connect it. Okay, move some lights around in here. I'm trying new light things. I got these guys, and I just moved another one behind me over here to try to get it so I don't have as many shadows, you know? It's always a challenge. All right, so back here, I've got this piece, and it's going to have a screw up here. I'm going to go ahead and kind of get it started just so it'll be easier for me. And I'm going to put my hand over here so it doesn't want to come out the other side, because I need to push this in so it's going straight up and down. Oh, my little screw thing fell out the other side. Hang on. I need to redo a couple things. I'm gonna push this piece back on. You know what? Oh, Marie. This actually goes the other way. Okay. You see how there's a little lip on there? I was putting it on the outside. It actually belongs this way. So here's my little fork, and it sits behind the fork. So that means I need to pull this screw back out. But when you put your little slidey piece in, put it so that the little ridge is behind the fork. Okay, so that is back on there, and I'm really liking this lighting. Let me know if you like the lighting too. I think I've tried 10 different lighting situations in here. All right, so making sure this is on, and it is upright. Don't want it to be bound up, but I don't want it to stick out, you know? I think I need to tap that just a hair. I think that's pretty good. Okay. I can tighten this up. Yes, I can, but it's out here on the outside, so if I need to loosen it later, I can do that too. I can do so many things. I can talk to myself. All right. Okay. This is where we're going to start to get into some new territory. So remember, this was black and this was black. I didn't want them black. So basically, I cleaned it, and then on this is polished. It's going to be fine. This one, I did put a light clear coat over it just to make sure that, you know, it never wanted to rust up. But I like the look of this. This is going to be fitting over this cog back here, and it should be going to do, because I can't really, this is going to screw into the back of this. And when I was cleaning this, I decided that I wasn't going to completely disassemble this. I don't think it needed it. It is moving as it should. And there was just way too many chances to get this messed up. I can see that I missed a little piece of that white latex paint. What is it with light latex paint in old sewing machines, you know? I think that people paint rooms, and when they're using a roller or something, you know, and flecks just go everywhere. But anyway, so I'm going to need to stick this from the other side through this hole here, okay? And then there's a bearing that's going to be traveling up and down here. Well, pretend that that's going in nicely, all right? And that's what this is going to get screwed to, all right? So I'm going to flip her around here and see what we can do. I believe I can just push this straight in. I'm going to clean that up in there, make sure there's no paint, and put some oil in there so it'll push in easier. Okay. It's going pretty well. All right. All righty. Now, I believe it was oriented like this. I'm going to double check real quick. I'm looking at my little screenshot that I took for my last videos thing, and it looks like this little screw right there. Oh my goodness. That is stationary, and I can tell from that, I think that this is the right position there. So we're going to call that good for right now. flip it back around this side, okay? And let's see if I can get this in here. I should have put oil. Let me put some oil in here real quick on the sides. I just want to make sure that this is going to fit in there well. It came out, so it should. Sometimes things are just disagreeable, you know? Okay, it's in there and it's moving well. Yay, that's a good thing. All right. How am I going to do this so everything holds together? You know what I need to do is just, now that I know that that's going to fit, go ahead and get the screw started on this side. So this is what I have. I have a screw with threads and then the shoulder at the end. That is what I am using here, okay? So that the shouldered part that's going to stick out is what this bearing is going to ride on. So I'm cinching this in all the way. And then pop this bearing on it. And pop it into that slot. Heavens. If it was round, that would be easier, but I have to get that angle just exactly right. Oh my goodness, okay. Hang on. I don't have that in all the way, but just to keep all of this organized, this bar actually goes behind. And I have this shouldered screw, and that's what's going to go through here and into back right here, okay? So let me get that started in there. There is an oil hole right up here on top, so I'll put some oil in there once I get it screwed in. And just so this doesn't want to move back while I'm pushing that in, there's two little set screws, one here and one underneath right here that these are going to go in. I'm going to go ahead and put those in, and that's going to hold that whole cylinder in place. Okay, so now that the set screws are on, if I move this, you can see this is the needle position lever. That's moving well. This is the bite, or the amount of zigzag. And it's doing okay. I don't really like this wire back there though, so I might move it up a hair. I think it's a bit in the way. Okay. Huh. Hang on. It's kind of interfering with this lever here, so I guess it's all right. There we go. All right, let me screw this back in. Okay, so now that that is good, coming back over here, now I feel like I can push this in, wiggle it and push that in so that that square bearing will fit into that slot. Okay, there you go. That clicking noise you hear is the belt because it's just kind of loose inside of there still, you know, doing its thing. But it looks like it's good. So this is the needle position adjustment here. That is good. And this is the zigzag bite adjustment. So if I have this all the way down here, I think I need to raise this up. Hang on a second. There's a little adjustment screw right here. I feel like it's too low. I don't even know why I feel like that, but I do. So I'm going to go ahead and raise it up just a hair. Okay. Well, we will deal with fine-tuning later, but I'm feeling pretty confident that that is good. There's a tiny little plate that goes right here just to cover up the back side of that. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. There are tiny little screws that hold this plate on. So, easy to loose. Okay. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put the little thread guide for the bobbin winder back on. Stay on there. I have a cat ripping up a box over there. I don't know. Okay. Alrighty. I love these bees. We have honeybees here. I know these are bumblebees. The rest of them are honeybees. I had someone here just a bit ago. Hello. And this one, it looks like a strange bird at first glance, but no, that's a honeybee too. You know, it's very bee happy. Okay, I'm going to show you. Look down here. This little fork is moving. So that's good. So yeah, I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm really happy about that. And I believe everything up here is done too. So I'm going to go ahead and put the little plate back on. It looks like this. This little piece slides on. Don't know why I'm having focusing issues here. Needs to get screwed in there like that. I'm also going to go ahead and put the front plate on. Again, I know I'm going to have to take it off later to adjust the height of the presser bar and the needle bar, but I just want to see what it looks like with it on there, you know. She's looking really nice, really nice. Now, this machine did not come with the light. There's a little slot right here, so if someone else has it and they want to add a light, a Singer light that bolts on right there, might work for it. I don't have the light for it though, so we will have a motor, however. I think I'm going to call it a night on this. I'm getting kind of hungry. I have to go back to the house and make dinner, you know, as you do. So I will see you either tomorrow or the next time I work on it. Okay, everybody, welcome back. It's a little later the same night. Got her tipped up on her side here. She's got a pillow underneath her, so don't worry. She's not getting scratched up. Lots to do underneath here. If I'm reversing the order of how I took her apart, part of this stitch length mechanism was in there. So this part here goes into the back, and I'll show you where I put the screw in. This is going to come up through the top or through the front, and then this part is over here. And I believe I can do this way. And I'm going to set, I need to move that belt over there. I don't even know. Let me turn this light on. Maybe that'll help if you can see, but I'm pushing the end of this through the little hole in the back. So if don't want it to fall out, I come back here. It's way too far through. I'm going to move it up, and there's a little screw. Okay, that's going to come through here and through. There's a hole right here. Okay, I need to push that forward so that this is going to go right through there. There it goes. Okay. Looking for my screwdriver. Can't find the one I want, so I'm going to grab the one that's convenient. And start twisting this in. And to mention this little quote that I put on here, it's one that I've seen, you know, all of my life, and it's that it says, aerodynamically, The bumblebee should not be able to fly, but she doesn't know this and goes on flying anyway. I have just always found that very inspirational, because there are a lot of things people will tell you you can or shouldn't do, you know? But follow your gut. If your gut tells you to fly, you can fly in general, you know? So anyway, that's what that is. So here is this piece up here. I think that that is looking good. I have the little stitch length lever coming out the front, so I might as well put that plate and everything on there while I have it upright. So over here on this side is a threaded area, and I'm gonna get this started if I can. This is the stitch length locking mechanism, okay? I want to see if we can see in here what is happening with it. All right, remember that piece I just put in right here? I believe that is what this thing is going to be aiming for. Okay, I'm threading it through, and see how it's going to, like, right up here. I don't even know if you can see, but it's going to be threading in and out. It's coming in and out up here, and it's going to be pushing up against that little block, okay? So it's going to limit how far that little block is going to be able to go, and that's what that is, okay? So then back up here, I have a plate. It's going to go right here. Very pretty, and a couple little screws that are lock it in. Okay, so I just put the little pointer piece on, and this little piece that kind of straddles it like that. Then there's a little spring that goes in there, and this top piece that screws on. Okay, so you can see it only goes that far. But if I back this out, it'll go farther. So that's what all of that is about. All right, let's see if I can do this here. I'm going to start by putting some oil in here. Excuse my head. Okay. I think there's a little cog that's going to be going up here. So I'm going to fold that belt out of the way. This shaft gets pushed in here. Come on. Come on. Oh my goodness. Very tight. Let me tap this. Where's my other hammer? Here it is. Being so stubborn. Let me put some more oil on this. Give me a second. I need to push this all the way through, but I want to make sure there's nothing that's supposed to be in this little slot right there. Okay, the tapping seems to be working. All right, so that is tapped over. There's a little hole right here. Okay, and this arm of that piece that we just put in, it's going to connect with that somehow. There we go. That's how it's going to line up. I've got this little shouldered eccentric bolt here. And this was a pistol to get out. So I just want to show you, there's no threads. It just pushes in. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little drop of oil in there. See if I can move everything so that we'll fit. I think I need to do some tapping for this direction now. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just going to squeeze it together. Let's see. There it goes. Just popped it right in. Okay, there's a hole here that I need to put a screw through, to keep this from wanting to pop out. Okay, got it started, so I can just twist that into place like this. Okay, and the last thing I have is a little ring, and it's got, there's going to be a lot of these. It's got two little holes. These are usually towards the bottom so I can reach them, and it's going to go down here, and that's what's going to lock this little ring into place. And I have two set screws that are going to connect it. So let me just put in one really quick, make sure everything still turns well, and it does, and then I'll put the other one on just to make sure. And get it cinched up. All right, one shaft down, 15,000 to go. All right, now we're gonna play over here with the gearbox for a second. I may need to pull some of that paint off if this is too tight. I think I do. Let me get that taken care of. I should have masked this off, but I wasn't thinking about it because I went ahead and painted over most of the bushings, because most of them you only see the outside, you know, but this one, it actually goes inside of here, so give me a moment. The paint on the bottom here, all of this white down here, that is the aluminum primer. And, you know, aluminum primer, it's white, so that's nice. It looks pretty. So it doesn't take that much just to pull it off down here. So I will start with my razor blade, use a little sandpaper. If I really need to do some heavy duty stuff after that, I can use a little bit of lacquer thinner on a Q-tip. But, you know, this doesn't take much. See, that is clean, but I think I left my plug-in over here. So I need to try to get that out. Oh, it's really wedged in. Come on, baby. Here it comes, ready? Oof, that's a little silicone plug I use for masking up the holes. So there's no paint on the inside of any of the bushings, it's just on the outside of that one. Okay, so now back, where was I? I was doing something like this. Now I need to get this hole here to line up with that hole underneath. Everything is very tight tolerances on this machine. Looks like more tapping. Don't want to hit that, so I'm going to put a piece of wood here and smack over it. Still very tight. Give me 1 second. I had to use the big rubber mallet, so now that I have it pretty much in line this way, pushing her down, and hopefully those two screw holes are going to line up. Are you? Or are you not? Let's see, if I look down this way, oh, it looks like I overshot it by about 1/8 of an inch, or I mean 1/16 of an inch, so I need to push it back out that way. Almost. Oh my goodness. Almost. Let me do one more tap and then I should be able to push it in. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you see when I turn this, that gear is turning well. And I did clean this really well. It is going to need new grease packed in there. This is oil that you see when I was cleaning it. Little residual oil won't hurt anything. Okay, so down here, this big old bolt needs to go in. Anchor it to the casting. There you go. Okay, there's a set screw that's going to go here. Since I didn't actually pull this worm gear out, I know it's in the right position, so I can just pop this back in there. I feel fairly confident that all is well. We will see later. All right, I have a little lid and screws to cover this, but before we do that, we have to stick the other shaft with the gear and everything through there. Now, I may need to get grease in there and everything, but I wanted to show you. The owner of the Pinkalicious 99 that I did sent me, ooh, I just got flood warnings. Ooh, scary. Sent me some new dental syringes because she saw what a sorry state this one was in. Okay, sorry about that annoying sound. Flood warnings. There's a lot of people on the road this week. Just to let you know, I've had several visitors this week from all over the place. From northern Ohio, from Nebraska, driving in from Nebraska. Hey guys. So everyone on the road, be very safe. I know Bob and Liz are on the road, who are going to be moving. Oh, that's a very small tip. I almost want to make that tip slightly bigger. They're going to be moving here fairly close to me, about a half hour away from me, so that's fun, you know. So they're on the road. Everybody be safe out there. My daughter's driving in from Chicago tonight. So be safe, daughter. And yeah, so let's just keep on going. Get all this grease in here. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. That was a big blurp. Okay, let me get all this smoothed in there. I need to be able to work it around this gear where that little side worm gear and this one merge together. So yeah, this is just going to be a mess. Let me get this in there and then I will put grease around it. But once I get this shaft coming through, there's some stuff I need to do in this space too. Okay, so I have these two cam things. They look similar, but not exact. Ooh, one is bigger than the other. Let me go see which one needs to go on first. Okay, so just, you know, using deductive reasoning here, I've got two of them here. One of them has to fit inside this fork, and this one, which is the bigger of the two, fit in that fork. So it must be the smaller of the two that's going to be on this side, the bigger one over here on that side. So I'm placing it this way. Okay, so that the little screw side is towards the casting here. Gonna move that out some and then put it this way over here, like this. So that is through, come on. Okay, so it's going through there. And then when it comes out the end here, that is where this piece is going to go. Through this. I'm not sure how I'm going to make this work, but we will make it work. So the first thing I was doing wrong is this part that the screw goes into is on the outside, not the inside. So if I just set this here, I should be able to work the shaft through the end if I pull this down and tight enough. Right? Right, everybody? Why does it feel like it shrunk? Hang on. All right, I want to show you something on here. Can I get you a close-up? I don't know if you can see. On here, there is a tiny little dimple right there, okay? And that's lined up with this hole. That hole, which is lined up with that dimple, is what needs to go against, move that grease, this flat part of the shaft. Okay, there's two places for a set screw, but this one goes here. The other one that's coming from this direction will just tee in right there. So I'm going to pull that out, try to get this in place so it lines up. And I have to really kind of stretch this. I almost want like a little crowbar or something here to pull this tight while I push this straight through here like that. This is a pain. Just letting you know, it is kind of a pain. But we're gonna make it work. Yes, we are. So I ended up putting the gear on first and then stretching the belt over it. Okay, and I don't even know. Okay, I am still sort of lined up with that flat part, so I'm going to get the set screw in there and hope that that cinches it into where that flat pace is. All right, so I'm just putting these screws in, and I did the one on the flat of that shaft, and it did cinch its way in, so I know I hit the flat there, so that's a good thing. Get this other one started. And cinch it in really well. Okay. Will everything still turn well? Yes, it will. Oops, you know what? That's going too far over. I'm going to tap it back this way a hair. I think I got a bit overzealous there. And I want to make sure that it's aligned well with that cog up on top so it's not going to shift, you know? 'Cause that would be bad. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. Let's just see. That's gonna work here. It's still wanting to go that way. Ooh. That makes me think that cog at the very top is too far that way. And you see how it's this, like that? Oh, I do not want to have to move that cog again. But if I do, I do. Actually, I think I can actually push this in just a hair. I'm going to try that. If that doesn't work, well, then I'll have to move the cog on top. But, you know, one thing at a time. So let me loosen these screws up again and try to tap this in, because you can see there's a little bit of a gap there. Before I tap that, I'm going to go ahead and put the big set screws into these two positions, because otherwise if I tap this, it's just going to push the whole thing out. And that is pointless. Here's my screw starter. So there's a lot of set screws here. The two larger ones go in these two holes, and the four smaller ones go in those. Okay, I tried a couple things and decided I needed to get the instruction book out. So I did, and I'm just going to try to follow instructions as I go along here. On the belt, there's two sets of these little iron clasps here where there's copper and iron. One here and one on the opposite end, okay? So we need to pay attention to where those are. I need to get this put on here. Push that. In the instruction book, they have this cog on already. Man, it is hard to get it in there. Okay. And I need to get this first little dot here, where that dot is, lined up with the flat place on the shaft. I believe that is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and put a screw in there to hold it. And cinched in. Well, there's one. Let me put the other one here. It's not spinning super freely though. I guess it's not supposed to because of, you know, we've got gears and stuff going here. There's a flat place there that's going to line up with one of these screws, and a flat place here that's going to line up with one of these screws. And we're just going to keep on going here. Oh my goodness. Wait a second, let me get my screw starter and do this properly. So in the instructions, it has this very cryptic type thing here. This is what I'm looking at. And I am looking for the groove stamped with the timing mark Y2 in the upper sprocket W2, okay? And it looks like this is pointing at a spot, all right? So I've come in here and looked at my sprocket. And the only thing I see is that one of these little side pieces right here, I don't even know how you can see it, right here, this one, this little groove, let me get a pointing implement here, this right here is cut out a little bit deeper than all of the other grooves. Okay, see how that one's deeper, and then these are all flat again. So, oh my gosh, is that more latex paint? I thought I got you all. So I am assuming this, my camera battery just died, so maybe that's a sign I need to give it up for the night. But, all right, so I've got one of these sets of clasps that has the copper. On the book it says 2 copper and 1 black. It has 1 copper and 2 black here, but the opposite side is 2 copper and 1 black, so we're going to call that good. And I'm putting this with the little cutout that's different than the others, okay? And I believe that that satisfies this directions. So now it says, without disturbing the position of the belt in the upper sprocket, because we've got that set, remove and replace the belt, T2, that's our belt here, on the lower sprocket so that the other set of copper clips will be in the groove stamped with the timing mark O2 on the lower sprocket. Okay, let's see if I can flip this over here without disturbing it. Don't be disturbed, little sprocket. All right, so now we need to turn this down here until I see something that looks like a timing mark. Where is the timing mark? Oh, okay, the little dimple here is also the timing mark. So that little dimple is where I need to time this clip that has the copper. Okay. And we're just going to have to kind of jiggle and everything and use a little screwdriver and wiggle it on one little bit at a time here. But that's what we're doing. So this one with the copper is going on that place with the little dimple timing mark for everyone who was screaming at me about that on your screens earlier. Sorry about that. Right, so I've got it lined up, and honestly I had to turn off the camera because there's only so many times I can do something, get frustrated, and have to do it again, you know, with the camera running and explaining everything. So, but basically up on top, the cog up on top, I ended up having to pull the belt off here, pull it up there, so I could get to the screws underneath the belt, so I could release those screws so that I could hammer that cog up there this way about an extra 1/8 of an inch so that it lines up better. And I think that it's in the proper position now because it turns a lot smoother and everything. I'm going to go ahead and get these cinched on. There's the flat spot. I'm putting the first screw onto the flat spot. And I am just putting these in because I think that that is where they belong, but I will double check before I do the next step. But it is dark and late outside, and I need to call it a night. Especially if you had seen everything I did not film, you would understand the frustration that sometimes comes, you know? So anyhow, I will see you next time. Thanks for putting up with me through all of this. Okay, everybody, hello. It's been a while. My daughter came in for the weekend, so for 3 days I did nothing but hang out with her. And we are almost at the tail end of putting this together. But since I have this part on now, I want to go ahead and put this hook on. I don't think it is the original hook. I believe that the individual that sent it to me swapped it out with a different one so that this machine could use regular standard needles. Now, I have these upstairs. These are the needles that are originally intended to go with this machine. So if you have one, that's what it is, 206 by 13. This is a size 12, size 14, whatever you're going to use. So I brought these here just in case, you know. But this should be able to use a standard needle according to what was written. And so that's going to be one of these 15 by 1s. So in order to get the hook in its right position, I need to get the needle on. Again, I have the instructions here that I'm going to refer to, which is showing where the point of the hook needs to be in relation to the needle. So let me go ahead and get this 15 by 1 needle put in, and we'll see about getting the hook in the right position. Well, I can see there's something else I'm going to need to adjust. Put this down, I'll show you really quick, because I was wanting to get the needle centered. My goodness. You can see, I have to move everything around here. It is not, it is over to the side. So that means that on the back here, and unfortunately I put the plate on, I'll take that plate off, but this bar moves back and forth on a cam to adjust needle position, so apparently I need to go back and make an adjustment there. So let me pull this plate off and figure out what I need to do. I pull this little plate off. There's 2 set screws here and here. I'm going to loosen those up. I believe I just need to rotate this with this lever in the center position, which is pretty much straight over where the little screw is down here, I believe, and I will refer to my instructions if I can find it. Once I pull those set screws out, with this in the center needle position, I am going to rotate it until this needle is centered down here. My goodness, this machine. Okay, so I got this reset in correctly, I believe, and what they had you do is push these 2 together, make sure that this is parallel up here, and then get it connected in the back again. But I think what my problem was this little pendulum fork. This is the fork called the pendulum fork, I now know, that makes the needle go back and forth like that. And it was really, really stuck in there and would not move freely. So it wouldn't move, so it wouldn't move the needle right. So I'm hopeful at this point, and I pulled this out, the needle bar slidey part here, so that it would, and oiled it up so that it would move freely also. So I'm going to put it back together and see if that fixes my problem. Okay, after much adjustment, I think I have that upper part finally situated. So I do want to come back in here and work on this hook. This is it in the diagram. And this isn't the original hook, once again, so we're going to do the best we can. But in the diagram, this is the location that we're looking at, okay, with the underside that's poking out that's very sharp, and this one that's curved. All right, and there are 3 screws that go in there. So first I'm just going to push that on so it's all the way down. And you know what? We're going to put a drop of oil back here just to make sure everyone stays happy. Okay. Now this little bracket, there's this notch in the center part. You know, the center part spins separately from the outer part. This bracket is gonna sit in here and hold that center part in. Gosh, I was ranting and raving and then realized I was doing things wrong. So anyway, here's this bracket, and it is right here holding the inner part securely, and then the outer part that rotates. If you look up here at this top part of the needle bar, there's 2 timing marks, okay? Let's see if I can get you in there. So when the needle is all the way down at the lowest point, that upper timing mark is right lined up with the edge of this little pointer piece right here. And so then, sorry, I'm jiggling. If I continue to turn the wheel towards me until the second mark, oops, that's a little high, is at the pointer right there. That's the point where I am adjusting the hook. There's these 3 screws down here at the bottom, okay? And I am lining it up so that the needle is right behind that position that is on the diagram right here, okay? So I'm hoping that that is right. If I turn the needle, it is going up and down and not jamming on anything, so I hope that's good. And I was doing this while I had the needle position, well, hang on, let me zoom out again. While I had the needle position, you know, stationary and centered, okay? But this does have a big slot in it so that it can go side to side also. Right, so I'm trying to figure everything out here, make sure I don't misplace things. Just kind of setting them in place here before I start pounding things together. And I think I'm just gonna figure my life out here. Hang on. This is the little mechanism for the dropped feed dogs. And I think this is backwards because I feel like this needs to have this spring put in here. So let me set that spring in there. Okay, so I have a little bit of springiness. Set it under here. And will this go through? I believe it will. Okay. Now, right in here, this shorter shaft is going to go through, and this little fork is going over this cog, okay? And when this comes out, the other side, I think I need to put some oil in there. We're going to be able to combine it with this piece, which is what the feed dogs are going to be attached to, okay? So I'm just kind of laying it right here so I keep it in line. Making a mess as I go. Okay, and I need to get this piece in. So I am just going to start here. This shaft has a flat piece on one side, and I believe that is on this side. So I'm just going to push this through. Okay, and I have one of these, which is going to come over this way. Okay, and I'm not putting the screws in it yet because I need to continue across here. Oh, I need to pull my plug out. I still have my little masking plug in there. Okay, that was exciting. All right, so continuing this across, it's going to go in here. And you know what? I think I have a little bit of paint right in there that I want to clean out. Okay, so that is moving through well now. Pushing oil, drippy oil out. That's on this side. Okay, so that's just going to hold that in place for me for a moment. All right, so before I go too far this way and connect this, there's a fork here, and I have this piece, this slidey little piece, and the sides with the little slots I'm throwing oil into. And if this is sitting in here this way, these are going to travel inside this fork like that, okay? And I want to be able to access the screw here so I know that it sets in that way. So if I back you back out again, over here, you know what, let's go ahead and just push this shaft over a little bit more so it'll hold that in place. Down here I have this one, and again making sure that my two screws are towards the bottom. Did I throw oil in here already? I don't know. This is going to push through here and here, wiggling it through. It's getting there. Oh my goodness. Okay, see it coming through there. Now it's going to come through here and through here. So at this point, I don't have a screw in here to cinch that closed. I don't have that screw in, but I do have this shaft pushed all the way through, okay? Which looks good to me. So what I need to do is continue pushing this one all the way down. And where was that flat spot? Here it is. Okay, I'm lining up that flat spot down here. Looking for the flat spot. Okay, it was actually turned a bit, so I need to rotate it. You see, it's right here. Right there. So I want that to line up with this first hole right here. Okay. Down here I have these two places for these two little screws. One has a shoulder on it, one does not. So the one that does not have a shoulder on it, I'm putting up here. And the one that does, I am putting right here. And we will know momentarily if that was a good choice or not. So there's that one. And that one. Okay, seems to be good. If I can unscrew this, can I adjust my feed dogs? Let me back this out of here. I feel like I'm squeezing it too tight. It has to be able to push this in. So I think I need to adjust this position. Just leaving that alone for a minute. When I took this apart, we made a note that this space here was about 5 millimeters, and it looks like that to me right now, so we're good. I'm going to go ahead and use my smaller, sorry, two smaller little set screws and put that on. Okay, so I have 3 more set screws, one larger than the other two. The two like medium-sized ones are going to go in here. The larger one is going in here. Now, to make sure it's going to work, basically I have these set screws in place, but they are not tight at all, because if I put them in the wrong position, this will not turn correctly, okay? So I'm turning it, and it is moving very well. So now that I know that nothing is bound up, I'll go ahead and cinch it in one at a time here. Oopsie. Do it again. I want to make sure that this is going to remain free to turn even after I cinch this in. So that's good. And I want to know if I unscrew this, if this can be adjusted. Because that is the point, the whole point of this thing. happens. I don't even know. I think I might have this on upside down. So if it was on the right way, I don't know. This is just a little odd. If I unscrew this, this top part of the clamp can come a little bit loose, but this is at a weird angle, so it's not going to come too much. But if you can see, it should adjust this bracket just a hair, and that might be enough to lower the feed dogs. I have a feeling you'll need to take this off all the way in order to get a good amount of play. We're just going to assume most of the time you're going to have your feed dogs up and want this screwed in all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and flip her down and actually put those feed dogs back on. I am having trouble with this, and it's mysterious and everything. Basically, works great, right? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing down here to get in the way. Everything is fine. And as soon as gravity hits, it's the feed dog mechanism is not allowing, that whole drop feed thing is getting bound up. And I have tried all kinds of stuff, so at this point I am thinking I'm going to clean up the original and try to swap this out with the original. It's going to be like this, all right, without this thing on here, because honestly you can't unscrew this far enough out to make a huge jump anyway. It's just making me uncomfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, and I think that might be the same piece, but this is definitely original. Really frustrated, and I'm going to walk away for a minute, but I want to show you what I'm frustrated about. This is a hook here that was not original. Mike changed it to a different hook that should work with a standard size needle. Okay, that's the idea. So here's the thing, and I had all of this together and I tested it, you know, laying here, and it worked great, and I had to pull all of this stuff off, you know, piece by piece to see what's wrong. And it's the hook. It is the hook. So if I have her laying on her back, you know, everything's fine-ish. Oh no, now she's acting up. I don't even know. But as I turn her up, if she gets past like a 30-degree incline, she locks up. Okay? And I lean her back, everything's great. I bring her forward to pass like 30 degrees, and she's going to lock up. Okay? If I take the needle out, the same thing happens. I believe I've done this so many times now, I completely lost my mind. Right now the needle is out. Everything's okay, leaning on her back. Okay. Actually, it seems not to be. Don't even know why. A minute ago it was a different thing. Anyway, if I tip her down, same thing happens. So it's not the needle interference, okay? And then the only other thing I've got is the screws that hold it on. And again, this is not the original hook. They seem to be clearing everything. And if I turn the wheel backwards, everything goes fine. But it's if I turn it forwards, okay, it's fine because she's flat. But if I set her up right here, she locks up here. And sometimes I can jiggle her past it. But what is that? Okay, so at this point, I can turn the hook all the way around. And if you saw my meltdown a moment ago, the videos that I'm going to try to insert here are ones that I just had lost it, and I sent them over to Bob saying, help me. And he had done a machine, the same model, and had the same problem. And what the problem was is the screws that were on here were not the right screws. They were way too big and sticking out. Plus there was the issue of it not being the same hook that came standard with the machine. I hadn't even gotten into the issue of, you know, the extra various types of bobbin cases that might or might not work with it. So let me tell you what I have done, just so I can move forward with this machine before it pushes me over the edge. Sometimes you have to do that. I have, whoops, excuse me, I have a 319, and this is it. And this is basically the same machine as the yellow one, except it has a different shape, and it has a place for external cams, and it has the little typewriter keys, okay? But it uses the same hook, the same bobbin, and all of that, which came standard with this machine. So I pulled the hook and the bobbin case out of that and popped it onto the yellow machine, just so I could move forward, because I felt like I was at a complete standstill. So if you want to modify your machine to use a different hook, I still don't have answers for you. I know there are people out there who have done it, but you know, right now it's not working for me. So since I have this going, and I did put the bobbin in and just pulled a thread through just to make sure that my timing was right and it would pick up the bobbin thread, and it did, thankfully. So I'm not going to show you again, because you know, you suffered through it once, but I'm going to go ahead and put this back in, this back in. Since the hook was the issue and not the drop feed, I might try to put the drop feed back in, you know, now that I know that the reason it was jamming had nothing to do with it. And so, you know, we're going to do another time warp here, and I will see you back once this is all back together again. Well, I hate to admit it, but I am not going to finish this machine in this video. I just don't feel good about it, and honestly I'm frustrated and I need to walk away from it, and I've got a lot of customer machines waiting on me, and I think it would be better if I just waited, you know, that along with the concept that I'm using parts from another machine, that, you know, I hate to take one machine apart and make it usable and not make another machine unusable. The feed system, there's something wacky with that, and when I was putting the belt on, I really made sure that I had the little copper pieces lined up in the right groove up here and down there, so that the feed system would be exact. And I'm not too sure if that's the thing or one of the feed dog adjustments or something, but it just seems like the stitch length issue is not happening. But on the good side, she is sewing. You know, I don't have a motor on her right now, but she is making a stitch, you know, which is a nice thing. Is it a pretty stitch? Oh no. What is that loop? I don't even know what that loop is. Good morning. Welcome to the next day. I did not give up. And I think I figured out my feed problem. As soon as I get this bobbin wound and we can test it out, I will show you. It was a gear or cam kind of thing that was not correct. So just want to make sure I can wind a bobbin, you know, and that it's set right. So let me pull off this. The motor's a little noisy. It's working. I rewired parts and stuff, so let's see here. It's not terrible. And look, it's feeding the bobbin well, so I think that this little thing here is placed well. I'm just going to go ahead and use up that thread. Oof. Okay. So to put your bobbin in, you have to tip the machine back. I can raise you up. Pop it in there. Okay. So let me get a different color thread to put up here on top. And gonna wind her through here. I hope she sews well. I really do. I put in a new needle, and it is the 206 by 13 needle, and she does thread from front to back because of the position that her hook is in. Oil dripping onto this thread, but you know what, that's okay just for trying it out. So if you see oil on the cloth, the little zigzaggy part in here was squeaking. So all right, let's see, hear that squeak? Don't like that squeak, but I can oil a squeak, that's not a problem. I'm still figuring everything out here, so I should have it on straight stitch right now. All right, let's see how she does. Foot pedal on the bottom here. Yes. Looks like it has a bit of a zigzag tinge, but it's working now. If you can see on my testers, I was having bobbin issues, and I think that was bad thread. It was honestly just bad thread. It's feeding well, thankfully. Get this out of the way. Okay, let's add a little bit of zig. Come on. Hear that? I need to figure out where that. Oh my gosh, what is that noise? Okay, look, I took the front plate off, pulled the upper thread out, and everything's fine. I think it was this tension unit was messed up. So I'm going to have to adjust this. Look, it was untwisting. I don't even know. So yeah, let me deal with this because that's not good. But I'm pretty sure all the squeakiness and jamming was in here this time. All right, so I totally rebuilt the tension unit, but you know what was making the terrible squeak? This little screw, the one that, you know, spreads and everything, it was out too far. And so it was rubbing up against the back of the plate. And that's what it was. So I just screwed it in and everything is fine. You know, it's things like that. Meanwhile, I went ahead and oiled everything in sight before I realized that, you know, as you do. All right, let's try this again. Okay, so just ignore all the mess. But I do have zigzag going on here, so that's very cool. I'm going to run it for a minute to try to get some of the oil off the needle because I've got a lot on it. And then I'll get a clean piece of fabric and do more fine tuning there. But look, we have a zigzag machine. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to show you what the whole deal was with my feed system that almost, you know, made me give up hope in humanity here. Now, let me lift her up here. Take that base down. All right. So the feed system on this is very different from others. And down here, if you remember, there was a flat place on the rods here, and I lined up the bottom screw of each one onto that flat piece. It was not feeding right. The feed dogs were coming up at a strange angle. That's what the issue was. And what I had to do is where the flat place is, okay, right here and right here. On this one, I put the top screw into it. The bottom one is not on a flat. And on this one, the bottom one is on the flat, the top one is not. Basically, this little eccentric cam thing here was off by, you know, about a quarter turn. And that's what operates the angle that the feed dogs are coming up at. So now they come up like they're supposed to and not like they're seasick, you know, which is fabulous. That almost pushed me over the edge, but that's what it was. So again, let me get her all cleaned up, sew with her a little bit more, get everything fine-tuned, but I think she's a success, finally. I am so happy about that. So happy. Okay, look at this. Isn't that so cool? So I went to the wider stitch and then back down to the narrow. So again, let's just kind of go through the whole gamut here. Going through the zigzags. And she's sounding great. I think things just needed to, you know, get worked in. I don't even have her in a box. She's just kind of sitting here. I will be putting her up for sale. She does have a little custom box that's going to be going with her, so I need to take a picture of that. But I am just so pleased. Oh my goodness. I do need to find a new hook for my 319 now that I've, you know, cannibalized it for this, but sometimes that is the sacrifice you make. She feeds great. I'm so pleased with that. Let's shorten that stitch up a bit. Yay! Thank you so much for watching and putting up with me through this whole thing. It's been quite the learning experience. And I think that she's a whole lot cuter than she started off at. And hey, I learned a thing or six, you know? Hope you did too. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.